Okay. So we were discussing how we give the answers for questions to be able to build the table. Okay. So the first question will be, if I compare C1 to C2, what is the preferred option? So the preferred option, let's say, preferred option, the answer is C1. And what is the score you give to C1? I give it a score of 7. This is why when we want to fill the table, when the reference is C1 and I am comparing C2 to C1, I put the score 7 as it is. While now, when I want to fill the second line and I want to compare C2 to C1, C2 is the reference, then the score will be 1 over 7. And this is why I told you, no need to ask the question 2 times. No need to say C1 versus C2 and C2 versus C1. Why? Because whenever you determine your preferred option, okay, then this score is based on this preferred option. Okay, so whenever you say my preferred option is C1, when you compare to C1, you put the score as it is. While when you compare to C2, you put 1 over the score. So now the second question is, now I want to compare C1 to C3. The answer will be also I prefer C1. And what is the score you will put? I will put a score of 3. This means I preferred C1, but not a lot over C3. This is why here the score for C1 relative to C3 is 3. Now, once you fill this number, you will be able also to say that for C3 compared to C1, the score is 1 over 3. Now, whenever, if I ask you now, I want to compare C1 relative to C4, okay? If you tell me, for me, I don't have no preferred option, and for me, both are the same. Or you can say, I select C1 or C4, but I put a score of 1. Whenever you put a score of 1, this means both are equal for you. Then you can put here 1. The same here, the answer was I don't mind between 1 and 5, they are equal for me. So you can fill also this column 1 and 1. So the way to ask questions in an order way is to compare first C1 to all alternatives, yani C1 versus C2, C1 versus C3, C1 versus C4, and now C1 versus C5. I am done with C1. I move now to C2. Since already I compared C2 with C1, I will not repeat the question. Now the next question will be comparison of C2 relative to C3. And if we look at the table, it seems that the answer was I prefer C3. Okay, so the answer will be I prefer C3, and the score I will put is 7. And because I prefer C3 on C2, so here when I put the score, it will be 1 over 7. While if I want to fill now here, which is comparison of C3 as reference versus C2, the score will be 7. Now, next question will be now compare C2 versus C4. And since the result was 0.2, this means that the preferred option is C4, and the score we give to C4 is 5. So here all we have to put, this is equal to 1 over 5. And then I can fill accordingly C4 versus C2 equal to 5. The same for the comparison between C2 and C5. So I have the same score between C2 and C5. The answer will be I prefer option C5. And the score I will put is 5. Okay, we do this. So now once we are done, so here we have four questions. For C2, just 3 because we already compared with 1. And now when you start with C3, you already compared with 1 and 2. So you just have to ask C3 with C4. And the answer will be, we can deduce the answer from here because it's 1. So for me, the both options are of same importance. So the score will be 1. And the same when we compare C3 to C5. So also because the score is 1, so this means between C3 and C5, the answer of the average answer, if you want, was 1. And I don't mind between the two factors. Now, and the final question to ask will be compare C4 and C5, and I will be done. Okay, and also since it's 1 from the table, so the both options are equivalent for me. So once we complete this table, in order to determine the weight of each factor, we'll do the following. First, okay, for each column, we'll do the summation. Okay, so here I do 1 plus 0.14 plus 0.33 plus 1 plus 1. I get a total of 3.48. Okay, and once I do this, I can deduce a certain weight. Okay, so it's a weight for C1. Why? Because higher the importance of C1, higher will be, so if C1 is very important, higher will be this number and lower will be these numbers, because when I compare C1 relative to another reference, when I get a value smaller than 1, this means that C1 is more important. So this factor is 1 because it's C1 versus C1, okay? And these factors, if they are smaller than 1, this means that C1 is more important. So when I divide this number by the total, I can get an idea about the importance of factor C1. And I can do the same if I do the calculation in this column, and this column, and in this column. Because when I divide the number in this row relative to the total number, it will give me an idea about the importance of C1. Because always having a large number here means that C1 is important. And having small numbers here means that C1 is more important than the other factors. So when I calculate the ratio of this, of any of the numbers of these rows on the total, this will give me the weight. But of course, I will not obtain the same weight here and here and here and here and here. That's why I can say I can take an average weight for factor C1. The average weight is equal to the weight obtained from the calculation here, plus weight 2, plus weight 3, plus weight 4, plus weight 5 over 5. Okay? And I will do this for the different factors. This will allow me to calculate the weight of C1, C2, C3, C4, and C5. So to repeat, to summarize the method, so after I put scores, okay, I should do the summation column by column. So I will sum these numbers. I get a total here. Once I get the total, I will fill a new table. In the new table, this element will be this one over the total. Okay, so it's C1 over C1 total. This element will be equal to C2 C1, which is 0.14, over the total, which is 3.48, etc. So I can fill this column. To fill this column, I do 7 over 25, I get 0.28. 1 over 25, I get 0.04, etc. Okay, and once I fill all empty parts, okay, for each factor I will obtain 5 weights. So I will do the average of these weights. So I do for C1, it's 0.29 plus 0.28 plus 0.49 plus 0.24 plus 0.24 over 5. 5 because I have 5 criteria. To practice more on this, I will do with you several examples where we build together where we find the weights together. Okay. So example, let us consider the following case. Okay. So let me zoom a little bit. Let us consider that for a certain project, okay, we decided that these are the main important factors to consider: the levelized cost of electricity, the carbon footprint, the land footprint, and the water consumption. Okay, so these are the factors that I should compare, and I should put weights for each of these factors. How they were able to put the grades? And I have weights of 25% for each. When I have 25% for each, this means that in general, in average, the options were equal. So, for example, how would give you scores? I will tell you this is I did questions. I first started by comparing LCOE to all other remaining options. So I ask, if you take LCOE versus carbon footprint, what is more important for you? So if the answer is if I say I don't mind, so here's the answer was I don't mind for all questions. This means that I have a score of 1 everywhere. If I have a score of 1 everywhere, of course, I will get 25%. And we can verify this together, okay? Because if I have, let us construct together. So I will open a new sheet to do the calculation to verify that we got 25%. Okay, so all I have to do is to say, let me put a table, okay? And in this table, I will say I am comparing 4 criteria: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, but because the answer was 1, so all numbers, when I fill my matrix, all numbers will be 1. So this is a very simple case, because so when I fill the matrix, I will have 1, 1, 1, 1, and the same everywhere. Okay, in general, what is the strategy? After I get these numbers, I should do summation column by column. Okay, so when I do the summation column by column, I will obtain the total here. So the total will be 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. If you want to not draw a new table, you can, let's say, choose a new color and say I can fill here. What should I do to fill the numbers? I take this number and I divide by the total. So I will get here 1/4, and I will get 1/4 everywhere. Okay, so this is a particular case where I will get 1/4 everywhere. So here also it's 1/4, 1/4, and also here 1/4. This is why if I want to find the average, the weight for C1, I will do the average of these 4 weights, and because they are equal, I will do 4 times 1.4/4. I will get 25%. Okay, but now we'll consider another case where we don't have same preference in order to compute the weights of each option. The example that we will take is the one provided here. So now I have a new sheet in which I give scores, okay? And together we will develop this matrix to come up with the average weights, okay? Okay, so first, let me look at this table. So I will start by saying, if I compare LCOE versus carbon footprint, do you see now the screen again, the table of criteria? No.
أنا ما مبينة عندي.
طيب يلا, let me share again. do you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is my table. Okay, in this table I have the results of the questions. So now what I have to do is to construct first the scores, the matrix of scores. Okay, so I will put the following. I will put the options. No, I have LCOE. Okay, and you can name them to simplify. You can name them option 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so I have, let's say, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. Okay, and let us put now, let us put the scores. First, we should compare. Of course, when I say 1 versus 1, it's 1. Now, when I want to compare option 1 to option 2, the question was LCOE versus carbon footprint. What is the more important factor? They told me it's A. Okay, so I will put the score as it is. I will put here 5. Now, between 1 and 3, the question is, you prefer LCOE or land footprint? Yani what is more important for you? Also, the answer was A. So also here I will put the score as it is. It is 3. Now, the last question will be to compare with 4, which is the water consumption. Also, I prefer the LCOE, so the score is 2. And once I fill this row, I can automatically fill. So when I fill the first row, I can fill automatically the first column. All I have to do is 1 over. And here the score will be 1 over 5. And here it will be 1 over 3. And here it is 1 over 2. Okay, I am done with the first part. I move to the second question. Now I am comparing carbon footprint, which is the second criteria, with the other ones, because I already did with the LCOE. So now I will ask, compare carbon footprint with land footprint and with water consumption. The answer is I prefer, what is more important is B. So because B is more important, and here I am comparing with the reference is carbon footprint, then I should put 1 over 5 and not 5. So I should put here 1 over 5. And of course, when I compare 2 versus 2, it's 1. And now between 2 and 4, which is carbon footprint and water consumption, also the answer was the more important is B, so the water consumption. So because here my reference is 2, I will put the score 1 over 6. And as I filled these two, I can fill now these two, which is, so I put 5 here and I put 6 here. Okay, now second step, I have the last one here, land footprint versus water consumption. I said for me both are the same, so the score here, okay, here of course it's 1 because 3 versus 3, and 3 versus 4 is the same, so 1. So now I completed my matrix. I have here 1 and here 1. Okay, so now I am done with, if you want, the scores. Now I will move to the weights. So how can I put weights? So just to put them in a clear way, I will construct the table again. Okay. Okay. So now I have my table of scores. So let me put them again in a clear way. So as we said, we constructed the matrix. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and total. Okay, and we have criteria, criterion 1, 2, 3, 4, and here we have the total. And here also 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Sorry, until 4. And here after this, I will compute the weight. So in the last column, I can compute the weight. Okay, so now I already constructed, if you want, before I was able to get the different scores. So if I will just put them here because I will use the same table to find the final weights. Okay, so for scores, I will put them here. I have 1 over 5, 1 over 3, 1 over 2. So now the first step will be to sum these scores. So I do 1. So here in the total, it's 1 plus 1 over 5 plus 1 over 3 and plus 1 over 2. Okay, so once I get this total, I should divide each of the numbers by this total. So the total is 61. This will give me 61 over 30. 61 over 30. So now I will use another color, okay, to construct the new elements. So I will have here, I divide 1 by 61 over 30, so I get 30 over 61. So 30 over 61. And here, 6 over 61. 10 over 61. And 15 over 61. Okay, I am done with the first column. I will do the similar procedure for all columns. Okay, and here, for example, I will go back to my scores. Scores were 5, 1, 5, 6. And if I sum these, 5 plus 1 plus 5 plus 6, I get 17. And once I have the total, I can calculate my new elements. So it's 5 over 17, 1 over 17, 5 over 17, and 6 over 17. Okay, now I will fill in green the remaining number. So you already know how to do what is the method. So all I have to do is to find the total and divide by the total. Okay, so if I do this, I will get here 15 over 26. One over 26. 5 over 26. You can always verify that summation, and if you sum the green numbers in a certain column, you should get 1. So you can verify in this way that you don't have some calculation errors. So 5 over 26. And here also 5 over 26. Okay. And the total here. So of course, you can get here the total was 5.2. So if you calculate the total, it was 5.2. And by dividing each number by the score, you got the numbers I gave you. Now, for 4, you have 12 over 25. You have 1 over 25. 6 over 25. And 6 over 25. And to be able to find these numbers, we calculated the total, and the total was 25 over 6. Okay. And now we can find the weights. Okay. So to find the weight in this option, all I have to do is I sum the numbers and I divide by the number of criteria, which is 4. So I do 30 over 61 plus 5 over 17 plus 15 over 26 plus 2 over 25 and I just then divide by 4. I will get the weight of criteria 1. So this is over 4. Okay. If you do the same for lines 2, 3, 4, you will get the numbers that are given in the table. Okay. So if we share again the table they provided, okay, we have, this is the result. So you can see it again.
Yes.
Okay, they got for LCOE the highest percentage, which is 46%, for carbon footprint 6%, for land footprint 22%, and for water consumption 26%. So this is analytical hierarchy process method to calculate weights. Of course, it's not the only method used, but it's this method has shown good performance because it's based on pair by pair comparison. So for example, if we take the results of weighting based on stakeholder preference example in Lebanon, we can see the different impacts given, okay, for different factors. So in any project you do, you should perform analysis of all economic, environmental, technical, social factors, determine their weights in order to be able to put them in the decision matrix and come up with an overall conclusion. Okay, here we can see, for example, a comparison of the sustainability performance scores for different methods. So this is in overall the following chapter. The main factor was how to get weights. We have already discussed in previous chapters the importance of taking into consideration different factors as social, environmental, economic. And in this lecture, we developed in more detailed what are the factors in each category, plus what are the techniques to put weights for the different criteria of the decision matrix. Once we put weights, you know already how to continue. We after putting scores and finding weights, we find the total score for each option and will be able to determine the best options between the one compared. Okay. Any question on this? So that's it. We are done with the material. As usual, if you have any question, I'm always ready to answer you. Good luck and bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Professor.
Welcome. Bye-bye.